If you could fast forward to your 70s or 80s and ask your future self, what do you regret most? What do you think the answer would be? For thousands of retirees, that question isn't hypothetical. They're living with the consequences of decades' worth of decisions, and many are willing to be brutally honest about what they would do differently. And what they say might surprise you. Retirement is often sold as a dream, the reward for a life of hard work. But once the reality sets in, not everyone feels fulfilled. Some feel restless, others feel stuck. Many start reflecting, not just on money, but on time, how they spent it, who they spent it with, and what they put off for too long. We're not talking about small regrets, like not taking up painting or skipping a vacation. These are deeper. The kinds of regrets that quietly build over time and only surface when it's too late to undo them. And what's most striking? They're often the same. People from completely different backgrounds and lifestyles end up sharing the same regrets again and again. That makes them worth listening to. In this video, we're going to break down the top 5 regrets shared by retirees in their 70s and 80s. Things they wish they'd done differently when it came to work, health, relationships, money, and life in general. Each one is a reminder that retirement isn't just about having enough saved up. It's about what you do with the time you have left. If you're still years away from retirement, or even if you're right on the edge, these insights could change the way you think about the future. Because the best way to avoid regret is to learn from the people who already carry it. Let's get into it. Regret 1. Delaying retirement. A surprising number of retirees say they stayed in the workforce longer than they should have. And it's not just because they needed the money. Many kept working out of habit, fear, or pressure. They didn't want to feel unproductive. They worried retirement would make them irrelevant. So they kept going, thinking they'd know when the right time came. But for a lot of them, that moment never clearly appeared. Instead, they woke up one day, looked back, and realized the years they could have spent traveling, spending time with family, or simply enjoying life were already gone. The reality is, retirement isn't about quitting. It's about trading one kind of time for another. Your healthiest, most active years are limited, and once they're gone, no amount of money or free time can bring them back. That's what many older retirees reflect on. They didn't leave the workforce soon enough to enjoy that golden window where they were free, financially stable, and still full of energy. Some thought they'd work until 70, maybe even longer, but health issues showed up sooner than expected. Others stayed because they underestimated how much they'd saved or overestimated what they needed. And nearly all of them say the same thing. They wish they had taken the leap earlier, while they still had the freedom to use their time fully. It's not about encouraging people to retire recklessly or without a plan. It's about recognizing the cost of waiting too long. Work can always wait. Time can't. Before you keep putting off that finish line, ask yourself, are you working because you have to, or because you're afraid to stop? Many retirees found that life on the other side of retirement was far more fulfilling than they ever expected. They just wish they'd started living it sooner. Number 2 is overly cautious spending in early retirement. One of the more unexpected regrets retirees share is this: being too careful with their money. It sounds counterintuitive, right? We're always told to save, budget, and protect our retirement funds. But many older retirees now look back and wish they had spent more, specifically in the early years when they were still healthy enough to enjoy it. Here's what happens. After decades of working, saving, and stressing about money, retirees finally hit that milestone, and then freeze. The habit of holding back doesn't go away overnight. They enter retirement with the mindset of a saver, not a spender. And that can lead to missed experiences, trips not taken, hobbies never started, memories never made, because they were too afraid of running out of money. But here's the thing. The early years of retirement are your most active. That's when you still have the energy and mobility to travel, explore, and try new things. Waiting too long often means your body doesn't keep up with your bucket list. Many retirees now say they wish they had front-loaded their retirement fun, spending more freely in the first 5 to 10 years, while they were physically able to enjoy it. Some also regret pinching pennies when they didn't need to. They avoided dining out, skipped vacations, or passed on family gatherings, thinking they were being smart with money. And while financial security is important, they later realized that they were saving for a future that never really came, at least not in the way they imagined. Of course, this doesn't mean throwing financial planning out the window, but it does mean recognizing that money is a tool, not something to hoard out of fear. The lesson here: use it while it matters. Be intentional, be smart, but don't be so cautious that you miss the chance to actually live the retirement you worked so hard for. Number 3 is health neglect. When retirees talk about what they wish they'd done differently, this one comes up again and again. They regret not taking better care of their health, especially earlier in life. And it's not just about avoiding illness. It's about how health impacts freedom. The ability to travel, be active, play with grandkids, even just walk without pain. Those things start to fade if your health does. Many people spend their working years putting health on the back burner, skipping checkups, eating whatever's convenient, saying, "I'll start exercising next year." The problem is, by the time retirement rolls around, it's often too late to undo years of neglect. Some retirees plan dream vacations, only to find their bodies couldn't handle the flights, the walking, or the time zone changes. Others imagine spending more time outdoors or pursuing hobbies, only to be sidelined by chronic pain, fatigue, or mobility issues. The regret isn't just physical, it's emotional too. There's frustration in realizing that the future you worked so hard for is now limited by things that could have been prevented. And many admit that they didn't see it coming. They thought they had more time. They underestimated how quickly the body changes after 60. The message from older retirees is clear. Health isn't something you can get to later. It's an investment, just like saving for retirement. And the returns are massive. You don't need to be a gym rat or live off green juice. But building consistent habits, walking regularly, eating better, sleeping well, staying active, can make a huge difference down the road. Because no amount of money can buy back your health once it's gone. The best retirement plan? Take care of your body now, so it doesn't hold you back later. Number 4 is the insufficient social engagement. One of the most quietly painful regrets retirees talk about is how lonely retirement can become, and how they didn't see it coming. After decades of being around coworkers, clients, friends, and family, retirement often strips away the daily social structure. Suddenly, the phone rings less. The invitations slow down, and if you haven't actively built a strong social life outside of work, the silence can hit hard. Many retirees say they underestimated just how important regular connection is, not just for mental health, but for meaning. Work gave them a built-in sense of purpose, routine, and casual interaction. Once that disappeared, some felt like they lost part of their identity. Others realized they hadn't invested enough in friendships outside their job, or had let old relationships fade while life got busy. Social engagement doesn't mean being the life of the party. It means having people to talk to, laugh with, share meals with, people who make you feel seen. Retirees who lack that often face feelings of isolation, depression, and boredom, even if they're financially secure and physically healthy. And the sad part is, by the time they realize how isolated they've become, it's much harder to rebuild those connections. Some wish they had joined more community groups, stayed more involved with friends, or made time to nurture relationships during their working years. Others regret not making new friends in retirement, something that takes effort, but pays off enormously. The takeaway: don't assume your social life will naturally stay active after you retire. It takes intention. Stay connected, reconnect, show up. The people you surround yourself with can make or break your retirement experience. Because at the end of the day, it's not just about how you spend your time. It's about who you spend it with. The last is the inadequate financial planning. This one's big, and it hits hard when it happens. Many retirees say they simply didn't plan well enough financially. Not because they were reckless, but because they either started too late, underestimated what retirement would actually cost, or didn't account for how long retirement can last. It's easy to think retirement is just about covering basic expenses, but life doesn't stop being expensive once you stop working. Healthcare costs rise. Inflation chips away at savings. Emergencies pop up. And suddenly, that nest egg that once seemed good enough starts to feel fragile. A lot of retirees find themselves living on tighter budgets than expected, cutting back not because they want to, but because they have to. And here's what many regret most: not asking for help sooner. They didn't talk to a financial advisor. They didn't run the numbers realistically. Some avoided thinking about it altogether, hoping it would somehow work itself out. Others focused only on saving, without thinking about how to actually use their money in retirement, how to turn savings into a stable, long-term income. The emotional toll is real. Financial stress in retirement can lead to anxiety, sleepless nights, and a constant sense of restriction. And it often affects more than just money. It limits choices, experiences, and even relationships. What older retirees want younger people to know is this: don't wait. Start planning early, even if it feels uncomfortable. Understand what you'll need, not just for survival, but for the kind of life you want to live. Build a strategy, get advice, and check in regularly. Because once retirement hits, course correction becomes a lot harder. Retirement should feel like freedom. Without proper planning, it can quickly become a trap. And that's one regret no one wants to live with. When we think about retirement, we often picture relaxation, freedom, maybe even adventure. But for many people in their 70s and 80s, retirement comes with a surprising amount of reflection, and for some, regret. Not because of one big mistake, but because of the small decisions made or avoided over time. Delaying retirement, being too frugal too early, neglecting health, losing touch with people, and not planning finances with enough depth. These regrets don't show up all at once. They creep in slowly, quietly, until one day they're hard to ignore. But here's the good news: if you're not there yet, you still have time. The point of sharing these regrets isn't to scare you, it's to give you a head start. These aren't just stories from people looking back. They're warnings from people who've already walked the path and want others to avoid the same missteps. And the patterns are clear. People don't wish they worked longer, saved every last dollar, or kept to themselves. They wish they lived more. They wish they used their time, money, and health while they still had it. So the real question is, what are you doing today that your future self will thank you for? Are you making time for your health? Are you maintaining relationships? Are you planning not just to retire, but to live well in retirement? The most valuable asset in retirement isn't money, it's freedom. And that freedom comes from being proactive now, not later. If this video gave you something to think about, share it with someone else who might need to hear it. And drop a comment below. Which of these regrets hit you the hardest or surprised you the most? Because sometimes just hearing what others wish they'd done differently is exactly what we need to make better choices right now. If this made you pause and think about your own future, don't let it stop here. Hit that like button if you found this valuable. It helps more people see it. Subscribe for more real, eye-opening insights like this, and tap the notification bell so you don't miss the next one. And here's your question of the day. Which of these 5 regrets would you want to avoid the most, and why? Drop your answer in the comments. Let's start a conversation, because learning from each other is how we all get better. Thanks for watching. And remember, the best time to start shaping your future is right now.